Welcome to the week 4 go-to session. This is the final session, yay, of the month. Okay, so yeah, we're nearing the finish line. Classes here at Full Sail are much more like sprints rather than marathons. So even though it feels like we just got started, we're actually, yeah, nearing the end. Um, so here's a glimpse of where we are. We're here in week 4. Your usual activities continue here. So there's that final journal response. There is no achieve module. Okay, your week 3 achieve module, when you finished it, you're done. So that disappears. In its place, though, we have peer review, which has already been open uh, since Monday. There are pretty clear instructions under peer review. I will talk briefly about peer review in just a moment. There's this guy here, the 4.5 bonus, the revision plan. Let me go in there real quick. This should be a shorter session because I really only have final comments and just reminders to make about what you need to do during the final week of class. But yeah, you have this activity here. Okay, the bonus revision. You can read through the instructions on your own as usual, and that'll be true for all of the activities. Of course, I'm not going to read the instructions out loud, but you can see that there is this optional little bonus thing here when people ask, is there anything I can do for extra credit? Well, I mean, not really, but you do get a little bit of boost if you decide to do this bonus assignment. As you can see, if you've incurred any professionalism penalties, I have to confess something. I sort of do things the opposite. I know the instructions under professionalism say that I'll deduct as the month goes on. But really, I mean, the only time I deduct is if there's anything egregious, which I don't think anybody in this class has committed, or like missed assignments, things like that. Those could result in 5 points taken off. So if you're at all worried that you missed an activity or something like that, you can do this to get those points back. And if you have terrific professionalism grade, you're anticipating a perfect 100 because you haven't handed anything late, you haven't been unprofessional in any way, um, yeah, you can still receive a bonus for completing it anyway, which I'll just apply somewhere else to the revision assignment. Okay, so anyway, there's the bonus thing. So you don't have to do it if you were, I don't know, cramped for time, right? You have too much on your plate. But there's this bonus activity. For this session, we're really going to talk about these two guys here, peer review and revision. Let me go to the keynote thingy. I'll probably often get away from it, so I apologize, but let's at least start with it, okay? And if you do have questions, just use the chat. I will try to be, I'm not going to fly through the session, but I will try to be aware of the fact that it's week 4. The end is in sight. Why not treat everybody to a quicker go-to session? Okay, so welcome to week 4. Yeah, revision is a main task for this week, as is peer review. I'm going to fly past this. I will breeze through this because we've been seeing this visual all month, right? Just a reminder that every week of this course has been devoted to a separate stage in the writing process, and now we're here. Okay, you're getting feedback, not just from me on your essay draft, but you're also going to get feedback from hopefully 2 of your classmates. Oh, I should real quickly comment that yes, I'm still grading essays. Again, we aim for a 3-day turnaround, 72 hours. So that's midnight tonight. And I apologize that yes, I almost always need those full 72 hours. I'm going to work like crazy to get them graded by midnight, but you know me, sometimes I have to go past the midnight thing, but everybody will wake up tomorrow with grades. I don't know if anybody here, or actually anybody who's watching this video after the fact, yeah, for people who did get like their feedback after midnight, I sort of told them, although it applies to anybody, that if you feel like that was a little bit late on my end, sure, you can have an extra day. Okay, I'm pretty flexible. I have had people reach out to me, even this past weekend. One person was ill. I think another person had to work double shifts at work. And they said, can I hand in the essay draft on Monday? And I said, sure, of course. Okay, so same thing here. So be patient. But yes, Sunday is kind of the last official day of the class. So everything is technically due by then. But yeah, if you need an extra day or so, just let me know as usual. So revision. Okay, you can tell by the word, right? It's got that prefix RE, which means to do something again, and it does have the word vision in it. Here it's the word revise, but the word revision contains that word vision, so obviously it means to look at something again, to see something again. I don't have to define that for you because you all know what revision means. So your major task for week 4 is, yes, you'll get feedback from me tonight, at worst overnight, and you'll use that feedback in addition to the feedback you get from 2 of your classmates through peer review to revise your work. Okay, so we've been working step by step toward the ad analysis essay. Now that you've taken your first stab at the drafting of it, you'll get feedback on it and use that feedback to revise. The reflection, I'm going to skip this because, again, in the past, this is the bonus activity, by the way. In the past, it was mandatory, and there was actually a loss of professionalism points not doing it. But now that it's a bonus, it's optional. I would just encourage you to read through the instructions on the activity. And if you want to go for it, earn some bonus points, great. If not, if you're secure with your grade or, again, your plate is full, feel free to skip it. Okay, there's no loss in anything for not doing it. So let me skip past this. Yes, let's move forward. Here's a quick glimpse. If you go to the revision activity, so quite literally the final activity on that course page, you can read through the instructions on your own. But here's sort of the gist of it. Okay, I'll summarize. You are revising your draft top to bottom if needed. Now, depending on how strong your essay draft is in terms of its overall shape, some of you might not have that much revision to do. For example, maybe a lot of it's quite strong. You only need to maybe fix some APA things, do some proofreading. Maybe there's a tiny section somewhere that could be improved or bolstered with content. But some people might need to do a bit more. Okay, so it's week 4. We've been talking about certain things like thesis, about identifying those 3 very specific things you are discussing that you see at work in the ad. So yeah, obviously at this stage, if I'm still seeing issues with that, there is no thesis, or it's not clear that there are 3 points that are being discussed, each in its own body paragraph. Yeah, those are obviously things to focus on, but it also includes the smaller stuff. Okay, which we're going to talk about in a future slide, actually, in this session. But yeah, proofreading, grammar, spelling, sentence structure, APA format. APA format, right? It's that nitpicky thing where even if you think you did it 100% perfectly, I'll probably notice something. Those special capitalization rules that apply to the references page. Indentation, I see that a lot. Spacing, I see that a lot. Sometimes too much space between paragraphs, too much space between entries on the references page, or the references page isn't double spaced, it's single spaced, or those hanging indents, right? So you don't indent the first line of a reference entry, but if it continues to a second or third or a fourth line, those lines do get indented half an inch. So yeah, small things like that. Basically anything and everything will be expected to be revised. And yes, I'm aware the class moves fast. We aim to meet that 72-hour deadline because, yeah, at the very least, people need those 4 full days, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to work on the next assignment. But I'm aware that 4 days is still pretty fast. Okay, we're not on a semester system here, so we don't have the luxury of a week or 2 weeks to work on something. But still, I do think that people can reasonably put together a solid revision within that time period. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about revision, and then we're going to talk about peer review, and then I'll let you go. Do all of you look at the rubric sheets? I'm kind of curious. I'm going to mute myself real quickly because I have to blow my nose again. I have bad allergies. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, whenever the weather changes, especially in Florida here, it's been quite cool up until maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. But then the weather, when it changes and permanently stays warm, that wreaks havoc on my Okay, at least one person, Paul, says he looks at the rubrics. Yeah, the rubrics are useful because you can, because you can see how literally you're being graded. But also notice this stuff at the bottom here. And I feel bad because maybe I should have stressed this in earlier sessions. But like there's supposed to be an automatic 5-point deduction for like really basic stuff not being followed. Like not capitalizing the beginning of a sentence, not putting apostrophes in obvious words like can't and won't, typing lowercase I instead of capital I, right, for the pronoun I. Um, yeah, there's a 5-point deduction for really obvious things like that. Not putting periods or any end punctuation at the end of a sentence. But notice too, for the revision, lack of substantial improvement will result in a 20-point deduction, meaning if you just hand in your essay draft all over again with either no change or very minimal change, that can be a 20-point deduction. I will say something in advance because I get this question every month. No, that does not apply to someone who, let's say, has a very, very strong essay draft and only has a few things to fix. You don't have to rewrite your paper in order to avoid a 20-point deduction. Because most people, yes, they'll have a number of things to focus on. Okay, they might have a few content things. They might be mostly getting APA right, but there's still a bunch of APA things that need to be fixed, as well as proofreading, fixing grammar, etc. Okay, just uploading the file again. I mean, the good news is I'm not going to give it a 0. I'm not going to say, wow, this person didn't do anything at all, so that's a 0. No, you'll get the essay draft grade again, but with a 20-point deduction. So be careful of that. I really hate having to do that, and mostly I don't have to. But yeah, this revision assignment is worth 15% of your grade. So why would I assign a ton of points for just uploading a file, right? The same file, or mostly the same file that you handed in the week before. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about revision. Think of it like this. Revision can be looked at in sort of two large umbrella terms. First, there are those global issues. By global issues, I'm not talking about world poverty or world peace. I'm talking about a synonym would be big picture issues. Okay, global issues, larger issues, big picture issues that deal with writing. So, for your essay, this includes things like thesis, content, organization, right? These things have to be addressed first. Why? Because what's the point of fixing a spelling error or fixing a comma that's missing or a comma that's in the wrong place if those sentences might entirely disappear? Okay, if there's pretty big revision that needs to be done at the global level, why worry about the small stuff first? Always begin with the big picture stuff. I think people kind of know this intuitively, but in case you don't, big stuff first. And as a reminder of the big stuff, okay, this is just a review again of what we've been talking about all month. You have your introduction, where hopefully you find a nifty way to begin. Doesn't have to be earth-shattering, but just find a natural start. Okay. We've talked about what else should be in the introduction. Ideally, a brief kind of summary of the ad, just to bring the general reader up to speed on what the ad is about, the gist of the ad, and then it should end with your thesis. Okay, that single sentence where you identify the 3 things you're going to be focusing on. And then each of those 3 things gets discussed in its own body paragraph, right? Again, this is what the outline assignment was mostly about. Beginning with a topic sentence, which is like the thesis for the paragraph, and then, getting into that discussion. And then finally a conclusion where you echo your thesis and you find kind of a satisfying way to end the paper. So we're talking again about 5 paragraphs, right? Introduction, thesis that lists your 3 points, which get discussed in each of the 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. I can move on, right? We all feel like we've got these concepts down. And there you get the introduction, body, conclusion. I should say, just in, because I forget who I said it to, but I said it to someone recently. If I could be completely frank, my interest in this course is not ad analysis, which is something you will never have to do in life. I'm much more interested in using ad analysis to teach writing basics, okay? Because someone stopped me. Did I talk about this in the past? Did I use the example of how even in a simple form of writing, like an inter-office memo, has the same structure, introduction, body, conclusion? Can someone tell me? Because I don't want to repeat an anecdote I used in a previous session. Um, Not sure. Okay, yeah, then I won't go into it. But real quickly, I mean, even a memo, right? It may not have an introduction paragraph, but it might even be just a single sentence. But it's like an introduction, and it has like a thesis, even if it's just to say, "Dear employees, we are writing to inform you about changes to the 401k plan." Okay, that's kind of like a thesis. It's telling you what the memo is going to be about. There might be paragraphs, short paragraphs, or there might not be. Maybe the changes are listed one by one as bullet points, but still they're presented one at a time. And there's some sort of closing. Okay. Again, this is to inform you of changes. If you have any questions, please contact someone in HR. Okay. But still, introduction, body, conclusion. So, do all forms of writing that you'll witness have like a super formal thesis that lists your 3 points? No. Actually, most formal writings don't state things that directly. Maybe lots of forms of writing have what's called a main idea, but it functions the same way. Whether you have a formal thesis or a main idea, you have like that closing sentence of the introduction section of your writing that sets up what's to follow. And then, yeah, it's pretty standard that when you get into the meat of whatever you're writing, you present ideas one at a time. Okay, one topic per paragraph. So ad analysis is not what interests me. Don't get me wrong. I think it's always good to exercise those brain muscles, to look at something critically, to, yeah, look beyond the surface of things. But I'm not terribly interested in whether or not you can truly analyze ads. No, I'm much more interested in writing issues, because these you can carry over to whatever writing you do. Honestly, just keep these things in mind, okay? Uh, Obviously, the opposite of big picture issues, global issues, are local issues. Okay, so local issues is not the mayoral race in your hometown or the local school system. No, it's the smaller stuff, okay, that applies to your writing. And this includes, yes, proofreading, grammar, spelling, sentence structure. I'm always not sure where to put APA. I think it's more of a local issue, a smaller thing. So maybe APA as well. But yeah, cleaning things up. Revision, the true revision is, yeah, focusing on big picture things. Editing, which is, yes, part of revision, but that's examining the smaller stuff, right? Fixing things. You have the big pieces in place. Now you just have to clean them up, make sure they're presentable. But both aspects, global issues and local issues, big picture things and smaller things, should be addressed in your revision. Another thing I've been mentioning to so many people is I do not expect students to be expert writers. If you were expert writers, you wouldn't need to take this class. But I do expect people to use grammar check and spell check in Microsoft Word. Okay. Glaring errors, that's not really acceptable, because Microsoft Word, even though it's not perfect, it will catch a lot of those. Okay. Sometimes, no, it may not notice the difference between two words that are spelled correctly, but mean different things, like here, H-E-A-R, and here, H-E-R-E. But sometimes even the algorithms that are used in programming are getting much better, where they'll even spot those things and suggest the correct word. But still, using those two tools, grammar check, spell check, you can spot, I don't know, maybe 80% of your errors. Like, it will spot fragments. It will spot sometimes comma issues, okay? So please run your work through there before submitting it. Another tool you can use to help out with sentence level issues is what's called the last to first method. This is literally, you begin with the last sentence and then read your paper backwards. Yeah, it's time consuming, but here's what it does. When you read things in order, from beginning to end, left to right, your brain automatically fills in, especially small words like of, the, a, or an. I was actually part of a, real quick anecdote, I was part of a small group exercise where we were given a paragraph to read, and we were told there were like 6 errors. Not like 6 esoteric errors, like find the misplaced comma or spot the sentence fragment or spot the, no, like glaring, obvious errors. And we were split into like 4 or 5 different groups, and no group could spot all 6 of the errors, even though they were incredibly simple. Like, one of them was, the sentence was just missing the word of, of. And it was a lesson in, yeah, you don't literally read every word on the page. You think you do, but you don't. Your brain anticipates words that are expected to come and automatically fills them in. And once it was pointed out to us, hey, yeah, the word of should appear here, right? Because it might have been, I don't know, the best of times, right? And the word of is missing. And once it was pointed out, we felt stupid. Like, how could we not see that? It's because when you read things in order, your brain actually fills in gaps. So one way to eliminate that is to read things backwards, because there's a greater chance that you'll interrupt that. Uh, Reading things out loud is also helpful for some, especially with awkwardness. Because if you stumble over a sentence badly, yeah, that's an indication that the sentence isn't working right. And sometimes you won't hear it if you're just reading, but if you try to speak out loud, yeah, notice those sentences that you stumble over. And yes, if you can if you're able to step away from the project, that's terrific. Okay, I know it's tough, especially since you only have a few days between one assignment and the next, but I'm sure, especially for students at Full Sail, some of you are here for music, some of you are here for graphic design, some of you for film. Not all of you are in arts oriented things, but a lot of people are. So anybody in the arts probably knows, is probably familiar with the creative process, right? And anytime you can walk away from something and then come back to it with a fresh set of eyes, you can see things more clearly. Same thing with even basic writing tasks. There's a certain point, am I correct, where you can't look at your paper anymore. It just seems like a jumble of words. You can't make heads or tails out of it. But if you just walk away, get a good night's sleep, come to it the next day, you'll be able to see things much more clearly. Of course, that requires doing things in advance, not waiting until Sunday at 11 p.m. And I wish I could chastise you more about that, but I have often in life wait until the last moment. So, yeah, I'm not going to be the pot who calls the kettle black. If you need more help, there still is time to get writing center appointments. Again, you need 24 hours notice for an online session, and I think even for a person-to-person session if you're here in Orlando. But yeah, it's just writing center at fullsail.com. I had a busy night last Friday night. I had back-to-back sessions, 4 in a row, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. So we're here to help, okay? Okay, I'll just skip this because this states the obvious. Revision takes time. It's due midnight. Again, if you need an extra day, just let me know. I'm cool with that. That's about the reflection. I'll skip that. Actually, let me switch. Let me go to peer review, okay? Because that's the other big thing I want to talk about. The rest of the slides, yeah, I'm not going to belabor with saying the same things over and over again. Has anybody here started peer review? Just out of curiosity? So it's okay if you haven't. A lot of people wait until the last day. It is open the entire week, I believe, right? Till Friday? Let me see. May 24th. What is the 24th? Ooh, that's tomorrow. You know what? I'm going to do all of you a huge favor, and you can watch in real time as I... Actually, let me double check, because maybe I can't fix things. I was going to say I'm going to give everyone an extra day, but I might not be able to. Yeah, sorry, people. Just ignore that. You're under some pressure. It's due Thursday. Right. But it's been open all week. I do regret that the go-to sessions are on Wednesday nights. In the future, I'll probably host them on Monday or Tuesday night. Wednesday's a little bit late because there are some people who wait to learn about all the activities during the lecture. And now maybe some of you are finding out that, yes, Adriana, the instructions recommend watching the lecture to clarify. But here's the good news. It looks like one person has done it already. And this is not a tremendously difficult activity. So let me show you. Okay. So here's what you ultimately have to do. You have 4 general prompts, but they're filled with questions inside them. Okay, so like state which advertisement was chosen. So if you're reading somebody's essay on Call of Duty, that's pretty easy. It's the Call of Duty. There's a soldier. What is it? There's a soldier in all of us. Is that the name of it? Okay. What is the thesis as you see it? What are the main points? Meaning, what are those 3 analysis points listed in the thesis? What hook did the writer use? In other words, does the writer have an effective start to the essay? And etc. I'm not going to read all these questions out loud, but essentially, if you're answering these questions with thoughtfulness and care, you should be fine. Okay, every student gets 2 essays automatically distributed. Your task is to read those 2 essays carefully. Okay, ideally, if you could read it once, just to read it straight through, and then maybe read it through a second time more closely, or read it through one time fairly closely, but then start answering these prompts, but referring back to the essay as needed. Because maybe you have to look at that paper again, right? To remember what the thesis statement is. This should be an easy grade, okay? There's no reason why some people might lose a few points for grammar things, but other than that, really, I'm grading, are you answering these questions? Are you answering them with some thoughtfulness and care? The other big thing I'm looking for is, do I get a strong sense that you truly read those 2 essays and are trying to give helpful feedback? I'd say there are 3 cautions to consider. First of all, there is a minimum answer length of 100. You don't have to hit 100 in order to move on, but you do have I can't show the student view of things because I don't have access to it, but you do have a little bar that will be, I think, up here on the left, if I remember correctly, that will show you how close you're getting to 100 words. 100 words, by the way, is not very long at all. If I were to take all these words here, there's probably 60 words here, maybe. So 100 isn't as long as you think. And certainly because all these prompts have 3 or more questions to answer, it shouldn't be a problem at all reaching 100 words. Now, do I really go in and check the word counts? No, not usually, but I'm pretty good. I can eyeball. I can see when something is very, very short. But really, the issue is not word length as much as quality. Okay. Which leads me to my second caution, which is, when things are answered far too generally, right? What would you like clarification about? Or what ideas would you like to see more of in this essay? And it's answered so generally that it could be anyone's paper, not this specific paper that you're responding to. That's a concern. So again, it's kind of like the journal activities. Remember, I've said that I want to come away feeling confident that, yes, this person has done the readings and watched the lecture and is showing that in their journal response. Kind of the same thing here. I want to walk away with, yes, this person has read the 2 essays, has thought about them, and is responding carefully. The third caution I would give is that because this assignment is completed entirely online, you'll have little text boxes to enter your response into. There's something about literal online communication that makes people sometimes think of it as less of a serious assignment. Don't do that, okay? For some reason, yes, with this peer review activity, I see many more problems with no punctuation between sentences, or not capitalizing the first word of a new sentence, or typing lowercase I instead of capital I, right? Basically like text speak conventions, or sure, when you go to a Reddit thread or you see someone's Facebook status update, people don't pay much attention to these things, which is fine because we don't expect that. Still, this is a formal writing assignment. Okay, actually, all the writing for this class, even in a message to me, the instructor, should be aiming for the highest level of professionalism. Just as I take the time to write to you in full sentences and follow the conventions, right, of grammar and mechanics, you should be doing the same. Now, we all make mistakes. Even I do. I'm embarrassed sometimes when I look over my feedback and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't proofread entirely. Things happen. I don't automatically deduct 5 points when I see lowercase I. If I see it twice, I raise an eyebrow, but maybe I still don't take off points. It's when I see a pattern, okay? When I see lowercase I happening 4, 6, a dozen times throughout this activity or another activity, that's when I think, okay, this person just banged this out. Okay. So yeah, I look for like patterns of error because, like I said, we all make mistakes. That I understand, but don't treat this assignment so loosely. And again, maybe you're thinking, well, I would never do that, but really, for this activity in particular, it is an issue. Even with smashed together things, like I'll try to, imitate it in the chat. So I see sentences like this. They are all smashed together without proper spacing. It is annoying. Now, people who are watching this in the lecture won't be able to see this because I'm typing this in the chat. But the people here live, look at what I've just typed in the chat. I see lots of things like this. And for people who are watching, because you can't see my control panel or the chat window, I just typed a couple sentences where there's no spacing whatsoever after periods. There's no spacing after commas. Everything just looks smashed together. This tends to happen again with online writing. It also is usually evident sometimes that people are writing on either a phone or a tablet, and you really shouldn't be doing that. You certainly shouldn't be doing it for major writing assignments. I don't think you should be doing it at all, because I can't imagine having to type anything of substance, meaning more than a single sentence or two, using those incredibly cramped keyboards on a phone or a tablet. But yeah, things like that happen when you're working on a mobile device. Don't do that, okay? Because I'd say that you should all be earning close to perfect 100s for peer review. Because again, it's so simple. All you have to do is read 2 essays, answer these questions with care, showing me that you read the 2 essays and are actually responding. One final piece of advice, and we're near the end of the session, so we will be ending soon. I'll let you go. I know that, I think it's in one of your readings, maybe someone can confirm whether this is true or not. I seem to remember it gives a caution about thinking like the teacher when you're giving peer review, or I kind of semi-agree, but also semi-disagree. No, you should not take the tone or the stance of, even as an instructor, I try to be careful with tone, right? But if it helps you to think about the feedback I've been giving to you throughout the month, reminding yourself of the kind of things that we've been talking about, the things that I look for, the things that you're graded for, and using that to help frame your response, yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that. Remember, your classmates are working on the exact same assignments that you are. So if you spot issues that we've talked about all month, or maybe that I've raised in response to your own work, right? You see a thesis, but the 3 points aren't clear. Or it has 3 points, but in your opinion, one of them isn't very strong. Anyway, you certainly, I think, can think in those terms kind of like the instructor. So don't be afraid to do that, especially if it helps you get in the mindset of giving someone helpful advice. That's the real goal here, by the way, is to help out your fellow classmates. There are times, too many times to mention, where students notice things that I don't, either because I just miss it or because I'm focusing on something else. To me, these 3 issues are more important. But the student notices something else that, yeah, it's still important, and I'm thankful that they raise the issue. It's also great when, don't get me wrong, your your feedback to your peers certainly does not have to match mine, but it's always cool when it does happen, because then I think, okay, great, now the student is hearing from more than just me. Students usually tend to understand that my feedback is meant to help them, but sometimes there can be resistance. But if they hear it from 2 people, 3 people, right, who all echo the same thing, yeah, then there's a pretty strong chance that they'll accept it, apply it, okay? Do the best that you can. Really, it should be an easy assignment, but points usually get taken off for it feels too rushed. The answers to these responses are far too general, or, yeah, there is a significant not paying attention to grammar, proofreading, spelling. If you can, type in your responses in Microsoft Word, run them through grammar or spell check, then paste them into the different peer review text boxes if you want to, okay? Questions, comments. I promise to keep things finished early because we didn't start until 7:07. This has been 35 minutes, but I've gone over what I needed to, okay? This is revision, peer review, and to a lesser degree, the final journal entry for this week. That's it. So if you feel comfortable with what we've gone over, you're free to go enjoy the rest of your evening. I thank you so much for attending. Most of you who are here have been here every week, all month. That's been awesome. I will hang out to answer questions that people may have, either over the final week's stuff or anything, okay, about the class, about the month, about this, about that. But yeah, those of you who want to take off, you can feel free to do so. Adriana says, so we were auto-assigned 2 essays for the review. Yes. I wish Turnitin had the function to show things like McGraw-Hill, I can show the student view. In FSO, I can use preview to also show what it looks like to students. Sadly, I can't do that for Turnitin. But yes, and from what I understand, it's pretty intuitive. Okay, so yeah, you'll go in, and the instructions, I believe, are pretty specific. Let's see. So yeah, upload your essay to Turnitin. Oh, there was a final reminder. So if anybody's still watching this, you don't have to have an essay uploaded to do peer review. So I would imagine that everybody does have an essay uploaded, but let's say for some reason you don't, or you got permission, or you got an extension, you can still complete peer review. So do not delay peer review because you're worried that your essay hasn't been submitted. Yeah, and then find peer review on Turnitin.com, click on the write reviews to begin the activity. And it should be pretty intuitive from there. Okay. Here it says plan to spend at least an hour on each essay that you read. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, it depends how easily you can see things or spot things. It might take you less time than that. But yeah, I figure it could take 7 to 10 minutes to read. Easily 20 minutes to maybe answer all. And that's if you're working like grease lightning, 20 minutes. Probably closer to 30 minutes. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes 45 minutes at least per essay. Yeah, I kind of got off topic there. But yes, you will have 2 papers distributed to you. Okay. And the reason why we have the due date Thursday is because, yeah, Friday is kind of cutting it close in terms of getting feedback in a timely enough fashion to be able to apply it. I should have mentioned this earlier too, but no, you don't have to feel pressure to follow the advice given to you by your peers. So if they make a suggestion that you just think doesn't sound right, or it conflicts with what you believe, maybe it conflicts with what I've suggested, yeah, you have to make decisions for yourself. But you don't have to feel pressured to, okay, David has made suggestions, one classmate has made suggestions, second classmate has made suggestions, I need to work on every single suggestion made. No. Okay, good. Other questions? Concerns? Comments? I think I'll probably stop the recording then because it looks like questions have slowed down, but I'll continue to hang out for a moment. But I'm stopping the recording now.